and go to page 11. Yes, let's try again, but I cannot do much about it. We need a new computer, but I cannot spend $1,000 because I need $1,000 in my bank. No, it's more important. I got $1,000 on my bank account to my rent apartment, so I'm not getting homeless. It's more important I'm not getting homeless than getting a new computer. But I'm working on it to get a better one. I need a faster computer. But I think it's better to buy a brand new, like $700, $800, $900. This pop up 10,000 times. Now we have to wait half a minute. Yes, let's try again.
On the 9th of September, 2020, a Syrian MiG-23 crashed into Ezza Governorate without information on the fate of its pilot. 63, Iraq. Iraq bought its first MiG-23s in 1973, in order to replace its Hawker Hunters, and MiG-17F's deliveries lasted from 1974 to 1978, and consisted of 18 MiG-23 interceptors, between 36 and 40 MiG-23 Beam strike aircraft, and several MiG-23 UB trainers. The introduction of these new aircraft proved particularly difficult for the Iraqi Air Force. Training in the Soviet Union included little flight time, and since the Soviets didn't provide any technical documentation or flight manuals, the Iraqis had to run flight testing on their own. Moreover, the handling qualities and the avionics outfit of the MiG-23 were heavily criticized, and the airframe's manufacturing quality was poor. Unsurprisingly, by 1978 at least 12 MiG-23s had been written off in accidents. An additional batch of MiG-23 was bought in the late 1970s to compensate for the losses. 64, Iran-Iraq War, 1980-1988. Ex-Iraqi MiG-23 in Belgrade. The MiG-23 took part in the Iran-Iraq War and was used in both air-to-air and air-to-ground roles. On the first day of the war, 22 September, both the MiG-23 and the MiG-23 BNS participated in attacks against Iranian air bases. The next day, an Iraqi MiG-23 shot down an Iranian Northrop F-5E. However, this day also marked the first MiG-23 losses of the war. 3 MiG-23 BNS were shot down by Iranian interceptors and air defenses. Several more MiG-23s were shot down in the following months, mostly MiG-23 BNS. The high losses were compounded by the embargo placed on Iraq by the Soviet Union in reaction to the war. By the end of 1980, Iraqi MiG-23 pilots had claimed a total of 3 F-5s shot down, all of them over the Iraqi airspace. 65. Despite the embargo, 5 MiG-23Fs that had been delivered prior to the outbreak of the war were rushed into service in the latter half of 1981. Attempting to replicate the success of the Mirage F-1s that shot down 2 F-14 Tomcats on the 15th of November, 1981, the pilots of Iraqi MiG-23 interceptor units started trying to sneak upon the Iranian Tomcats in a similar way a few days later. However, following these two losses, the Iranian pilots had adapted their tactics. While the F-14s flew combat air patrols at high altitude, pairs of F-5S or F-4 Phantoms were positioned at low altitude in order to prevent Iraqi fighters from approaching the Tomcats unobserved. These new tactics worked out when two MiG-23 MFs were shot down by the F-14s after having been visually detected by the F-5S on the 25th of November. Several more Iraqi fighters were lost in similar circumstances during this period. MiG-23BN units continued suffering losses too, especially to F-14S and MIM-23BI Hawk surface-to-air missiles. 66. The Iraqi MiG-23BNS delivered in the 1970s only had a subpar radar warning receiver and no electronic countermeasures (ECM) equipment, despite the Iraqi Air Force having paid for it. 67. In 1982, the Soviets lifted their embargo, and aircraft deliveries restarted. 18 additional MiG-23 MFs were delivered, together with 18 MiG-23 BNS equipped with the ECM system requested since the 1970s. 68. In 1983-1984, the MiG-23 MFs were used to intercept Iranian RF-4E reconnaissance aircraft flying over Iraq. Even though these aircraft were unarmed, they proved very hard to catch, and each of their flights was protected by a pair of F-14s. On the 1st of January, 1984, Tomcats shot down a MiG-23 MF while escorting an RF-4E. Later that month, an RF-4E was shot down by a MiG-23 MF. Another RF-4E was shot down yet again by a MiG-23 MF in June. That year also marked the arrival of the first MiG-23 MLs. In total, at least 64 were ordered by Iraq. On the 11th of August, one of the new MiG-23 MLs shot down the F-14 flown by IRIAF. Colonel Hashim Ali Aga with an R-60 Mk missile over the Persian Gulf. 69. Iraqi MiG-23 downed another Tomcat on the 2nd of September, 1986, when Iranian Air Force Captain Ahmed Moradi Talebi was hoed down while attempting to defect with his F-14. 70. From 1984 onwards, due to the exhaustion of both its personnel and its aircraft, the Iranian Air Force stopped operating its fighters over the front lines. Hence, the Iraqis started using their aircraft to attack targets further into Iran. MiG-23 BNS participated in these attacks, as part of bigger strike packages including other bombers, a fighter escort, often including MiG-23 MF/MLs, and SEAD aircraft. They also flew close air support missions. Thanks to the decreased presence of IRIAF interceptors and to the much improved protection offered by escort, SEAD and electronic countermeasures aircraft, losses were much lower than during the first months of the war. 71. According to official post-war Iraqi Air Force documents, Iraq lost a total of 38 MiG-23 BNS, 3 MiG-23 MS, 1 MiG-23 MF and 1 MiG-23 ML. However, the stated losses for interceptor variants are much lower than the actual number of aircraft lost. For example, the number of pilots known to have been killed while flying MiG-23 MS/MFs is twice as high as the official figure for all MiG-23 interceptor variants. In return, Iraqi MiG-23 pilots have claimed around 20 aerial victories, of which 7 have been confirmed after cross-examination with data from Iranian sources. 72. Kuwait invasion and Gulf War, 1990-1991. On the 2nd of August, 1990, the Iraqi Air Force supported the invasion of Kuwait with MiG-23BN and Su-22 aircraft as the main strike assets. A number of Iraqi aircraft and helicopters were shot down by Kuwaiti Air Defense MIM-23 Hawk SAM sites, among them a MiG-23BN. 73. Iraqi MiG-23s damaged 2 F-111 Raven by R-23 missile during the Gulf War. 74, 75. Iraqi documents captured after the invasion of Iraq revealed that they possessed 127 MiG-23s, including 38 MiG-23 BNS and 21 MiG-23 trainers, at the start of Operation Desert Storm. 76. During the Gulf War, the United States Air Force reported downing 8 Iraqi MiG-23s with F-15s. 77. Iraqi documents confirm the total destruction of 43 MiG-23s from all causes, with another 10 damaged and 12 others fleeing to Iran. This left Iraq with just 63 MiG-23s after the war, including 18 MiG-23 BNS and 12 trainers. 76. The United States stated that the losses of the F-16Cs were caused by 2 K-12 Cub and S-125 Never Forward/Pekarajevus-to-air missiles rather than enemy aircraft. 78. Also, no tornado losses attributed to enemy aircraft as per the Royal Air Force and the Italian Air Force. 79. 80. No fly zone and invasion of Iraq. 1991-2003. On the 17th of January, 1993, a USAF F-16C destroyed an Iraqi MiG-23 with an AMRAAM missile. 81. On 9 September 1999, a lone MiG-23 crossed the no-fly zone heading towards a flight of F-14s. One F-14 fired an AIM-54 Phoenix at the MiG but missed and the MiG headed back north. However, the aircraft then crashed while its pilot was attempting to land. 82. In 2003, during Operation Iraqi Freedom, the entire Iraqi Air Force remained grounded with several airframes found by US and Allied forces around the Iraqi air bases in derelict condition after the invasion. The invasion marked the end of Iraqi service for the MiG-23. 82. Cuba. In Angola, Cuban MiG-23 MLs and South African Mirage F-1 pilots had several encounters during the Cuban intervention in Angola, one of which resulted in severe damage to a Mirage F-1. On the 27th of September, 1987, during Operation Modular, 2 MiG-23 pilots surprised a pair of Mirages and fired missiles. Alberto Le Rivas engaged a Mirage flown by Captain Arthur Douglas Piercy with a pair of R-23RS, some sources say AR-60, while the other Cuban pilot fired a single R-60 at a Mirage flown by Captain Carlo Gaggiano. Although the missiles homed on the Mirages, only one R-23R exploded close enough to cause damage to the landing hydraulics of Captain Pierce's Mirage, and, according to some accounts, the aircraft's drag chute. The damage likely contributed to the Mirage veering off the runway on landing, after which the nose gear collapsed. The nose hit the ground so hard that Pierce's ejection seat fired. As a result of this ground-level ejection, Piercy was paralyzed. The aircraft was written off, but a large portion of the airframe and components were used to repair another accident-damaged Mirage F-1 and return it to service. In total, the Cubans claimed 6 air victories with the MiG-23, 1 destroyed, 1 damaged and 4 were unconfirmed. 83. Angolan MiG-23s outclassed SAF Mirage F-1CZ and F-1AZ fighters in terms of power forward/acceleration, radar forward/avionics capabilities, and air-to-air weapons. The MiG-23s R-23 and R-60 missiles gave FAPA forward/DAA pilots the ability to engage SAF aircraft from most aspects. The SAF, hobbled by an international arms embargo, was forced to carry an obsolescent version of the French Maitre A.550 Magic missile or early generation V3 Kukri missiles, which had limited range and performance relative to the R-60 and R-23. Despite these limitations, SAF pilots were able to vector within the firing envelope and fire air-to-air missiles at MiG-23s. Gun camera shots evidence this. 84. The missiles either missed or exploded ineffectually behind in the tail plume rather than homing on the hot airframe. UNITA rebels, opposing Cuban forward/MPLA forces, shot down a number of MiG-23s with American-supplied FIM-92 Stinger Manpads missiles. South African ground forces shot down a MiG-23, which was prosecuting a raid on the Kalyuk Dam, by using the Histervark, Porcupine, 20mm AA gun. 85, Libya. Libyan MiG-23 over Gulf of Sidra in August 1981, being followed by an F-4 just before the first Gulf of Sidra incident. Libya received a total of 54 MiG-23 MS and 15 MiG-23 UPs between 1975 and 1978, as well as 35 to 38 MiG-23 BNS. 86. These aircraft entered service with the 1040th, 1050th, 1060th and 1070th squadrons. 55. The 1040th and 1050th squadrons were staffed by Syrian Air Force personnel. 87. 88. One Libyan MiG-23 MS was shot down by an Egyptian MiG-21 fighter during and immediately after the Libyan-Egyptian War in 1977 while supporting a strike on the airfield at Mersa Matruh, forcing the remaining MiG to abort the mission. In one skirmish in 1979, two LARF MiG-23 MS engaged two EAF MiG-21M which had been upgraded to carry Western air-to-air missiles such as the AIM-9P3 Sidewinder. The Libyan pilots made the mistake of Libyan MiG-23 trying to outmaneuver the more nimble Egyptian MiG-21S, and one MiG-23 MS was shot down by Major Sal Mohammed with an AIM-9P3 Sidewinder missile, while the other used its superior speed to escape. 89. On the 18th of July, 1980, the wreckage of an LARF MiG-23 MS was found on the northern side of the Sila Massif, in the middle of the Italian region of Calabria. The deceased pilot, Captain Izzedine Fadl Khalil, was found still strapped to his ejection seat. 90. 91. In August 1981, Libyan MiG-23 MS fighters were involved in standoff with the US Navy, which led to the first Gulf of Sidra incident, although they were not involved in any actual combats on this occasion. 92. In the mid-1980s, newer versions of the MiG-23 entered service with the Libyan Air Force. Around 20 MiG-23 MFs were received in 1984 to re-equip the 1060th Squadron. 72. 48 MiG-23 MLDs were also ordered in the same period. Two squadrons, the 1023 Road and 1024 TH, were created to operate TC aircraft. 93. Libyan MiG-23s were employed during the Chadian-Libyan conflict, performing different roles, starting in 1981